is Zach. We'll be with you today for a little while. If you have any questions for us in the live stream, go ahead and hit us with those. We'll make those part of the show. Love to talk to you. Here on the show, we'll talk about the Grove Bowl visitors. We'll talk about what appears to be a completed basketball recruiting class, the contact period, not contact period, but the, I guess, live period starts June 1st, and Ole Miss goes into that with an opening on its coaching staff, at least as of this moment, which is April the 29th at 11:32 a.m. Central Daylight Time. So we'll talk about those things and more here on the Soft Verbal Podcast. First, I want to tell you that we're brought to you by the College Corner. It's your one-stop Rebel Shop, 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Ridgeland, it's next to Fleet Feet. And in Flowood, it's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, it's okay. You can visit the College Corner at collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. So whether you're tailgating in Oxford or home gating with friends and family, the College Corner has you covered for game day. The largest selection of Rebel gear in central Mississippi. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, but I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today, 662-257-1900. Zach, how are you?
Neal, I'm doing well. It is a disgusting day in Nashville, but nevertheless, I feel blessed. Played in a men's basketball league game the other night and never seen this. I mean, I haven't played at a too high of a level of basketball, but I don't think I've ever seen this on television. We had not one, not two, but 3 bloody injuries.
Ooh.
Like guys had to leave to go to the hospital. It was bad.
That's a serious game. What were people getting elbowed in the
Man.
face or what?
So first 5 minutes of the game, one of our guys gets a rebound coming down, elbowed across the cheek, cut, blood all over the uniform. So he had to go. And then second half, I mean, it's just me and like a bunch of dads, out there just getting exercise, having fun. We've got a couple guys that can play for the most part. I'm just out there being your typical 5'10" guy that just plays defense and hustles. We're playing the best team in the league. They average close to 100 points a game. So they got some dudes that can ball. For whatever reason, in the second half, they're beating us by at least 20. Guys out there going off screens, just really getting after it, trying to get to the rim. This guy spins into his own guy and just went, basically face to face.
Oh.
And I mean, dude goes down on the floor. I go over to, hey man, you good? And it's just blood everywhere. So, they lost 2 guys. Same thing. It was like UFC cuts.
Yeah. No thanks. No thanks.
I make a lot of business decisions in that league where when guys are going to the lane, I'm just,
no,
you can have it.
There's no reward for taking that charge.
No. So
you fired up for the draft tonight?
I am. Me and some buddies, we've been doing this thing where we do basically like a live Zoom where we all get together and watch it together and react. Elijah Moore possibly falling to 22 to the Titans.
Yeah, I think I think that's where he's going. I mean, I know that there's a possibility, I guess, that someone moves up for him, but it's such a wide receiver draft. There's lots of receivers. There's all this quarterback drama, and I think he's going to be there at 22, and I think that's where the Titans are going to go.
I mean, it fits. They need somebody to open up the middle. Jonnu Smith is gone. Adam Humphries is gone. Corey Davis is gone. yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Tannehill needs a guy to kind of, another weapon to get the ball to. And I don't know. I had somebody today that was like, if the Colts draft him, I'm going to drive to Indianapolis and commit a crime because
the Colts go 21 right in front of Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I think they're 21. So I think they're going tackle, but yeah. So the draft is always fun, regardless of what happens. That 2 days, possibly 3 days, if you were locked in for the whole weekend. You always hope. You always, oh, we got this guy. It could be, you don't even know who the hell it is, but it's at least a quick little jolt of hope for next season, to where you're like, oh, like this guy's probably going to be really good.
Yeah, the draft is always.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Yeah, the draft is always a night of hope. It's no one loses the draft. I mean, you can, but you don't really know it at the time. The Bears lost a draft. Yeah. The Bears lost a draft not so long ago. I'm interested to see the quarterback market tonight, because we're going to see 1 and 2 go, Lawrence and Wilson, and then there's all sorts of rumors about what San Francisco is or is not going to do. What will happen if San Francisco doesn't take Mac Jones? Because I think it's so funny to me, the Mac Jones thing. It's and we'll get to Ole Miss stuff in a second. This is an interesting topic for me today, and I don't know when we're going to get to do an Oxford Exxon podcast. So if I'm going to get this off my chest, I've got to do it now. No, Mac Jones is not the greatest athlete in the world. Fair enough. There have been lots of quarterbacks that have won in the NFL who, and this probably predates you a little bit. When I was a kid, there was a show on in the summer. It was called The Superstars, and they take like athletes. And a lot of times it was NFL guys, and they'd take them out to Hawaii and they do obstacle courses and stuff. And a lot of times the quarterbacks would struggle on the obstacle course a little bit. They weren't the strongest guy. They weren't the fastest guy. That's okay. I mean, I get that everybody wants to have a Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes doesn't grow on trees. Eli Manning was not the athlete that Patrick Mahomes was. He won 2 Super Bowls and would have won another one probably had Plaxico Burress not shot himself in the foot and gotten arrested.
Yeah.
So Peyton Manning won 2 Super Bowls and played for 2 more? I don't think anybody ever watched Peyton and went, "Woo, great athlete." That was not ever the first thing I thought. I never watched him and went, "Man, that guy is just an amazing athlete." Drew Brees won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady's won 12 Super Bowls. But here's the thing about Jones. He's got a good arm. He can make the throws. There's an acumen there that everybody raves about. He's ready if you put him in the right system. So if San Francisco takes him at 3, to me, they're kind of doing what you want your franchise ultimately to do. You're going to find out whether it works or not. You want your franchise to go, this is our guy. We're not listening to anything else. We're going to go get our guy. Mm-hmm. And then if it doesn't work, hey, you're all out of a job. Unless you're the Bears, at which point they just re-up their contract. But if it does work, it's like, hey, we got our guy. But what's going to be interesting tonight is if the Niners don't take Jones and instead they take Trey Lance, which is the rumor. I'm interested to see whether these rumors are true about New England, about New Orleans today, about Chicago. Do those teams get active at that moment in time to trade up for whether it's Justin Fields or, and this is the rumor, with both New England and New Orleans, they have their sights set on Mac Jones if he falls out of the 3 spot. That's where the draft gets interesting tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like depending on what the 49ers do, if they take Jones, I mean, I feel like 1 through 4 is pretty much chalk.
Because you think Atlanta takes
You kind of know what you're getting.
You think Atlanta takes Kyle Pitts? Is that what you're saying?
I mean,
because if I'm Atlanta and the Niners take Trey Lance, I'm like, hey, clear the phones, everyone. Let's listen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking
I
14
don't know
minutes and 58 seconds to see whether a team's willing to mortgage how much of its future to come up and get, whether it's Fields or Jones.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts is tremendous. He's going to play for a long time in the NFL. He's really good, but you got to have a quarterback. And I don't know. That's risky.
It's a quarterback league. But if you're Atlanta and you're going to ride with Matt Ryan for another year or two, I'm not taking a quarterback at 4. I'm going to give him another weapon. Or I'm going to trade down a little bit and I'm going to get up picks for the future and take somebody at 9 or 10 or wherever.
They're probably going to take Pitts.
That's my guess.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's always interesting to see how the dominoes fall because there's going to be a run at defensive lineman. Jay Sewell is going to be the number 1 offensive lineman.
Sure.
Taken.
Slater from Northwestern's very good. It's a deep first round draft. What interests me most about this whole Mac Jones thing is if you believe the rumors, and I don't know whether to believe them or not, how much of it is misinformation, I don't know. So many in the media are anti-Mac Jones, and yet it appears that Kyle Shanahan, Bill Belichick, and now maybe Sean Payton all really like Mac Jones. So if you say, who are you going to roll with, Neal? Sean Payton and Bill Belichick or the media? I know who I'm going with for football. Maybe for anything, given the state of today's sports media. I mean, Mac Jones is getting media criticism.
Yes.
Mac Jones is getting media criticism right now, Zach, in large part because he's not an athletic guy and because he's a white guy. I mean, that is bottom line. In this time right now, that is a lot of his criticism. Now, I'm on record here. I would much rather have Justin Fields. I think he's terrific. But I can't be the guy that just disregards the fact that there's some prominent NFL people that really want Mac Jones. Your connection is not super right now, just FYI.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. It's
you getting
storming here.
Yeah, bad weather connection. Yeah, it's cool. You're back.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, so anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say I think unfairly Mac Jones, that locker room picture went viral of him shirtless, and I think everybody is judging him off of that.
Oh, I do too.
Because he just looks like a dad on the beach. Sort
of like Eli Manning looked.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's kind of my point. I mean, I think
if
Tom Brady, when you see Tom Brady, you don't go, "Hey, it looks like he's a good-looking guy and he's fit and stuff," but you don't look at him and go, "God, he looks like a specimen." I don't know that that's the point, and so I don't know. And for the people that say, "Well, he was always surrounded by talent at Alabama," yeah, well, so were a lot of Alabama people.
Yeah, well, guess what? He's going to be surrounded by talent in the NFL.
Exactly. It's can you process defenses? Can you process a system? Can you operate a system? Can you distribute the football? If they think you can, they're going to do it. I mean, Justin Fields was surrounded by great talent. I mean, why is that argument not used against him? Ohio State has talent all across the board. It's an interesting. We do this every year in the media. This year, with all the things that are happening in society, we're doing it even more, and it's bizarre, really. It's fascinating. And I'm the guy that's on record. I would take Fields. I love him. He's great. I like everything about Justin Fields.
Yeah. It's just what they do the week of the draft. They got to go find the story and just pick it apart. And, it's just like turkey buzzards on the side of the road. Like they're just picking at every single scrap that's left just for the sake of creating drama. Which, I mean, at this point, it's just like, man, like the draft just needs to start so they can just talk about who's getting picked, because I'm so sick and tired of hearing about it.
All right, let's talk about some football recruiting. Ole Miss had a good many guys in for the Grove Bowl last week. They couldn't technically visit with them. They couldn't come into the building and all that stuff. But a lot of guys came and saw the show, and it was a show that was packaged for recruits, which was smart. And come June 1, a lot of those guys can and will be returning to campus. This thing is about to get kind of a 1 month quasi-dead period coming up in May, which is going to be the calm before the storm. I expect a lot of activity in June on the Ole Miss campus and on campuses everywhere. A lot of these kids that have not had a chance to visit for the past, what will that be, 15 and a half months, they're going to take trips this summer. It's going to be an active summer.
Yeah, I thought outside of the rain and the wind that picked up it was a little chilly there. I wasn't prepared for that. But outside of that, I mean, it was a success. Ole Miss scored some points. They had some fun, avoided injuries, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, and there was some pretty high level prospects that were in town. Kamari Rogers was, the headliner, the Rivals 100 prospect from home Central. He wasn't. He was kind of on the fence. He was going to come or not. So him showing up was a big deal. Taylor Groves, the athlete from the Nashville area, was in town. I think he really likes what he's hearing right now from the staff. They're recruiting him as a defensive back. I think he's starting to see the potential of being a defensive back. And look, you've talked about it a good bit. I think that Ole Miss has somewhat of an advantage in this recruitment where they can point to Miles Battle and say, look, this was a guy that was a 4-star receiver like you. He's about the same size as you, and now he's going to start in the SEC at corner, and he might have a future there. So they're able to have a tangible thing to show him. Ryan Brubaker, big offensive lineman up from Pennsylvania. He came down with his parents. We'll see what happens there now that Randy Clements is gone. I still think that Penn State's going to be tough to beat there. Both his parents went to Penn State, but he really liked his visit from everything that I've heard. And but yeah, so I think, like you said, the most important thing was the success of basically promoting the vibe and the attitude around the program right now that's completely changed.
Yeah, it's exactly what they're doing, and it's smart, It makes a lot of sense. They've created an atmosphere that says, hey, it's fun. We're laid back. We're going to win. I mean, Lane Kiffin, I asked him about that. I can't remember if it was after the game, if it was before the game. I don't remember. I lose track of time. But he said, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And, that they got to win. They got to put a product on the field that's exciting, that kids like, that's attractive. They've got to make progress this year. They went 5-5. They've got to make a jump. They've got to be better. I think they will be. It's why I think they're going to be one of the real interesting recruiting stories of the year, Ole Miss, because you look at their schedule, and I don't think 8-4 is an unrealistic prediction at all. And then I think they could be better than that. I mean, I think they could be 9-3. I think anything over 10-2, and you're starting to get pie in the sky. But let's say they go 8.5, 3.5, whatever. 8.5, 3.5, somewhere in there. So 8-4, 9-3. Well, you've got real momentum again. It means you're winning a lot of games. It means that you probably were fairly close in the games you lost. It means that Matt Corral had a big year. It means that some other guys beyond Corral had big years, that you are getting some NFL attention with your players. It means that recruits were coming to games, that fans were at games. There was probably a really good environment at the stadium. You're in that mix. Now, on the flip side, Randy Clements is gone in late April, which is a weird. And the timing of that is no one would call that ideal. Nobody. Nobody who's being fair. There's going to be a storyline that's going to be pervasive throughout the year, whether it's true or not. We'll see. that Jeff Lebby's leaving after the season. That certainly is what's out there right now. So they're going to have those questions for offensive players. Offensive players are going to say, hey, what's this system going to be next year? Is Coach Lebby coming back? I mean, there is an issue there. Defensively, on the other hand, I think they're going to be much better. They've dramatically improved on the back end of their defense already. They're going to bring in Chance Campbell from Maryland, who at the very minimum is going to help stabilize the linebacker core. They're going to bring in Tywan Malone in June, July, whatever. He's got a chance to help the JUCO kids. I'm sure Ole Miss is kind of hoping that the spring was an acclimation period for them and that they'll be more ready to go in August. But I do think they're going to be better up front than they were a year ago. How much better, I don't know. The secondary, I think, is going to be much better. You add Battle for a full year. You add Springer. You add Reese. You add Tysheem Johnson and Breedlove and Trey Washington and lots of dudes back there. You've got quantity and quality on the back end that's going to help a ton. So I do think they're going to be better. I think they're going to be able to sell, hey, we're closing in on doing something here. And so I think Ole Miss is going to be one of the real interesting recruiting stories nationally going into the 2021 season.
Yeah, I thought in the spur lot, but I thought they looked much more physical defensively. Up front, much more active. I mean, a guy like DeSanto Rollins, I think is going to play a lot in 2021. Was banged up last year. I think he's going to make an impact. And I mean, yeah, like at every level, they look much better. Probably a little bit to do with guys from last year, another year in the system, another year learning the playbook. But yeah, I mean, the guys they signed in 2021 are coming in, especially in the secondary, are playing immediately. Tysheem Johnson's going to play a lot.
Yeah, he was a steal.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best that they signed in 2021, if not the best, next to Tywan Malone. But, I mean, you got, Washington, Breedlove, DeMarco Williams wasn't dressed out, but they really like him.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of those DBs they signed are going to play, and they're just going to be more athletic. They're going to be faster. They're longer. They all kind of look the same, and it's exactly how they want that secondary to look. Is they can really run, and they're physical, and they make plays. So yeah, I think if you're an Ole Miss fan, I'd be very cautiously optimistic. But like you said, 8-4 would almost feel like it's potentially the floor. If the offense can find a playmaker, can find a leader, I think they will. I think both Jeff Lebby and Lane Kiffin can figure something out. But look, the offense wasn't really what the offense is going to be because Jerry Neal wasn't out there, Snoop Connor wasn't playing, Kentrell Bullock wasn't playing, Henry Parrish wasn't playing. That backfield is going to really help Matt Corral and the receivers kind of mesh post Elijah Moore and post Kenny Yeboah. But yeah, they have an excellent recruiting pitch. That if this season goes the way that they think it will, they're going to be able to really point to this season as, hey, look, this is the launching point for getting to that next level. You can jump on now, or the ship's going to fill up whether you join or not. So
yeah, I got asked floor ceiling question yesterday, and so it was kind of the first time that I really even kind of thought about it all that much. And I said, look. Should win and will win, obviously, are two different creatures. We've seen that throughout the history of sport. But if you look at it realistically and objectively, I think Ole Miss should go 4-0 in the non-league.
Mm-hmm.
They're better than Louisville. They're better than Liberty. I'm not doing the Hugh Freeze drama. They're just better than Liberty. They're going to win that game. So that's 4. They should beat Vanderbilt. They should beat Arkansas. They should beat Tennessee. That's 7.
Mm-hmm.
They should not beat Alabama. So that's 7-1. And I think objectively, if you look at the talent that's been assembled at College Station, that's going to be a tough ask in year two.
Sure.
So that's 7-2. So that leaves you 3 games. LSU at home, at Auburn, at Mississippi State. Frankly, I think they probably should beat Mississippi State, but it's there. It's a rivalry game. You kind of not particularly willing to go, oh, yeah, that's a W. I think they should beat LSU at home, and I think they could beat Auburn there. So take those 3 games and meet in the middle. And meeting in the middle is 1-1 with a toss, right? So that's 8-4 to 9-3.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an objective, realistic way to look at that season. That doesn't mean that it's impossible that they would lose in Knoxville. I don't see how, but crazier things. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's impossible that they'll lose to Arkansas at home. But that series has become a home field series. The home team wins the Arkansas Ole Miss game for the most part. I know it's probably maddening to Ole Miss fans, but that is what's happened. I mean, that has become a game that Ole Miss doesn't win up there, and it's a game that Ole Miss wins in Oxford. So, I don't think that's an unrealistic thing. And so, I don't know. I'm with you. 8-4, 9-3, anywhere in there, you're going to be able to, if you're them, you're going to be able to spin that as, hey, we're making major progress. It wouldn't even be spin at that point. That means a bowl game. At 8-4, 9-3, it probably means a New Year's Day bowl game.
Yeah, I was saying Access Bowl.
Something. So we'll see.
2 years in a row.
Yeah. So you start kind of building from there. We'll get back in some other conversation here in a second. I want to tell you this podcast is brought to you by Daniel Barfield Wealth Management. We've been serving individuals and businesses in the Oxford and North Mississippi area for more than 20 years. Daniel and his staff offer comprehensive financial planning, including investment management, estate and tax planning, insurance planning, and business retirement plans. You can get in touch with him at 662-236-6454 or visit his website, barfieldwealthmanagement.com, to learn how he can help you. We're also brought to you by Billy's Small Batch Bacon. My pal William Stitt has mastered the art of bacon. He spent more than 3 decades in the restaurant and hospitality business, and bacon is his passion. He uses bacon selected from the finest hogs, hand-turned every 2 hours in small batches, rubbed with nitrate-free pink curing salt and brown sugar molasses there at his restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama. It's the Old 27 Grill. He has perfected the bacon curing process. You've got to try this. You may never eat supermarket bacon again. Go to billesbacon.com, BILLES bacon.com. Try it today. Order 5 pounds or more. Use the promo code Rebel Grove, and you get a free Billy's Bacon hat. Also brought to you by Alpha Specialties, located at 1670 Highway 80 in Pearl, Mississippi. They're your trailer-specific professional. If you want to haul it, they can call it. Alpha's the premium trailer dealership in Mississippi. They've got load trail. They've also got Hallmark cargo trailers. They've got spare tires and wheels starting at just $100, a full selection of trailer parts and accessories, hitches, winches, straps, and more, a full-service repair shop as well. Mention MPW Digital, mention this podcast. You get 10% off a yearly trailer service and inspection. 601-932-9798 or alphaofms.com. We're also brought to you by Jennings Executive Search. Jennings Executive Search specializes in the recruitment of accounting, finance, strategy, corporate development, and data science professionals from the staff to C-level in all industries. Whether you're a small business owner who needs a finance leader, whether you work in private equity or you run a team at a Fortune 500 company, John and his recruitment team of former public accountants will simplify the hiring process by presenting you with a short list of only the most qualified candidates. John works on a contingent basis, meaning no hire, no fee, and will in no way interfere with your own recruitment efforts. To learn more, search for John Jennings, that's Jon Jennings, on LinkedIn, or email john@jenningsexec.com or call 404-536-3000. We're also brought to you by Muddy Water Camo. Don't forget, go to muddywateroutdoors.com. Make sure you've got all of the latest gear to get you ready for the summer. Hunting and fishing, whatever it is that you do, they've got it for you at muddywateroutdoors.com. And if you're a decision maker or an influencer for a middle market sized business or a large corporation, if you're a business owner, a CFO, a controller, an HR professional, or if you assist your company with making financial decisions, then you may be aware that property and casualty insurance rates went up dramatically in 2020, and they're continuing to rise this year as well. Hunter Maynard of USI Insurance is a risk management professional who specializes in negotiating between your company and the insurance carrier by working closely with business execs to ensure they have the most effective and cost-efficient property and casualty insurance program possible. They are Hunter's an Ole Miss alum. He has clients throughout Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Alabama, and you can reach him at 901-233-4614 or email at hunter.maynard, Maynard, at usi.com. Where do you want to go from here, Zach? You want to keep talking football? Are there some guys that you're kind of watching for in June and July from a visit standpoint that you think might be close to doing something, or you think it's just going to be visit palooza?
Probably a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, I think a lot of guys you've seen schools really pushing for that June official visit date. One guy that's out there that I think people need to keep an eye on is Jaron Willis. He's announcing a commitment on Saturday, but then he's taking official visits in June. So, yeah. Florida State looked to be the favorite early on.
I'm getting engaged on Saturday, but I've got several dates next week.
Yeah. I think Georgia Tech has really made a push now, so he probably looks like he's going to announce for Georgia Tech on Saturday. Ole Miss is slated to get his last official visit in June. So, yeah, I mean, if that guy's committed to Georgia Tech and he still takes an official to Ole Miss, I mean, that's certainly something to watch. I talked with Justin Martin this week, the quarterback out of California that Ole Miss offered, committed to Cal, but he was adamant that, man, he's lost about a year and a half on his recruitment, and he wants to take visits. And, he said, hey, Cal's home, but I want to get out and do my due diligence. So Jeff Levy really likes him. He was very complimentary of Coach Levy, Coach Kiffin, and he says he's well aware of Matt Corral and what he's done in that offense. So keep an eye on him. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a mad dash. It's just going to be a free for
all. It's interesting to hear so many kids say that now that it's here and they're going to get to visit. You can almost hear them say almost defiant, and I don't blame them. Like, hey man, I'm not going to do this now without taking some visits. I'm going to go see some places and see what's up, and I'm curious to see whether they do camps or how they do camps. Or there's a lot of questions that I get asked. I'm sure you get asked. I ask. I don't really know the answer. Like, people are like, "Are you guys going to have access to the camps?" I don't know. Are you guys going to be able to talk to the kids when they're there? I don't know. I don't know whether by June 1st we're going to still be doing the whole COVID protocol thing, or if that's going to be out the window. I don't know. It's kind of one of those deals. It's a little bit of kind of flying without a parachute right now. You just sort of sailing. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. We can talk basketball.
Okay.
Jamin Brakefield, it finally happened. You were right. Good call. You were all over it, man. You nailed it.
I tried to tell people when they kept asking, I'm like, he's going to sign. And then after a while, it was, what's going on? I'm like, he's signed. And then like, why they're not reporting it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why are you so sure? Because I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that I know I frustrate the hell out of people when I do that, but I knew that he had signed. I didn't know why the whole deal was going the way it was, but once he signed, whatever. I mean,
Yeah, he doesn't. I still think Ole Miss has some holes to fill on that roster in terms of what really lacked in their offensive attack last season. But I think Brakefield is. I know it wasn't a huge surprise, or everybody knew it was coming, but I still think it's a huge deal because he's a high level player that I think is going to play a lot. he has to play 30 minutes plus a game. And I don't know if he's going to average 18 a game or if he's going to average 8 a game. He's going to get every single opportunity to get as many shots as he can, because they need a offensive playmaker on that side of the floor.
So Kermit Davis talked about this earlier in the week. I asked him, do you have enough shooting? And I got kind of a coach speaky kind of an answer. And that's not meant as a criticism. It's just that's what coaches do with recruits.
Mm-hmm.
He said, he thinks Fagan's gonna play with more confidence at Ole Miss, going to get more shots. Breakfield's obviously going to be given a lot of freedom, as you mentioned, to shoot. I still look at their roster and it feels like they're a shooter short. But
yeah,
me thinking that doesn't mean anything. What difference does it make what I think? I want to see how different Jarkel Joyner's game is. I want to see how Joyner and Deshaun Ruffin play together because they're both kind of smallish guards. How that impacts what they can do defensively. The one thing that's most interesting, and I wrote about this back in March, and it's Kermit talked about it the other day. They've watched what's happened at Arkansas, at Alabama, where tempo has created offense. They're taking more threes in Fayetteville and Tuscaloosa. They're getting more possessions per game. They're playing at a much higher pace, faster pace. And they're basically admitting, hey, we need to do more of that. And maybe if they follow through on that and can indeed create more possessions per game, if they can be more efficient with their possessions, points per 100 possessions is a big thing in the NBA. I'm sure college uses a little different metric, but it's still basically the same thing. So basically, for those that want to know, like a net offense rating in the NBA, anything over about 110 starts to get pretty good, 110 points per 100 possessions. If you are under 100 points per 100 possessions, you're bad. And then defensively, you want to be as close to 100, 105 as you can be, giving up between 100 and 105 points per possession, per 100 possessions. Carson and I joke all the time about the Thunder because the Thunder are trying to tank, and they actually beat Boston the other night, which is very disappointing. But regardless, the other day we saw their numbers in this losing streak that just snapped the other day. Their offensive net rating was like a 94, and their defensive net rating was like a 119, which is, hey, if you're going to tank, that's how to do it right there. Don't score and give up tons of points. That's how you do it. So what Ole Miss is going to try to do is they've always been a pretty good defensive team. They've got to become a more efficient defensive team, and if they can't score by shooting 3 after 3 after 3, they do have to become a more efficient, explosive offensive team in transition. Kermit said that's what they're going to try to do, and so that will be something kind of interesting to watch. That will be an analytic that I will be watching early in the season to see if indeed they're playing at a faster pace, and then can they carry that over into SEC play?
Well, that's, talking about recruiting, and I've talked with people about NATO